Hey everybody, it's Mario again. So, a little update on the little flooding issue. Um, so today is July 24th. It's a Wednesday. This past weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Unfortunately, I had to get video because there's way too much going on for me to actually be able to video what we were doing. But I rented a mini excavator, like I mentioned in my previous videos, to work on the flooding problem in my easement. So Friday I started to dig some of the trench, and as I showed you previously, a lot of mud, a lot of water. And the excavator slipped because the plywood I was using to support the excavator on top of the muddy ground got mud on top of it. Then the mud on the tracks made it like ice, and it slipped off, and I actually got it stuck. So Saturday took 8 hours with me and two of my friends to get it unstuck, and then we dug a little bit, and then Sunday we started connecting we kind of redug the hole for the sump pit. We ran probably 125 feet of the discharge PVC, and then we got 2 days of torrential downpours. And I worked, so I couldn't come out here. I worked Monday, Tuesday. So I'm going to flip this around and just show you what's going on today. And mind you, what you're going to see is worse than it probably would have been, but the GFI tripped on the outlet that my sump pump is plugged into, so it stopped running probably since yesterday, possibly maybe even Monday. But I work late and it was too dark to come down here and take a look at it. So let me show you what's going on. Let's flip the camera around. All right, so you can see where that bucket is where the old sump pit used to be, which I pulled out because it was a short one. But you can see all the water. This is all groundwater. That basically this is the rain the amount of rain we had. Actually, a tornado touched down somewhere in New Jersey. That's how bad the storm was. But like I said, this is a lot worse. Now this is gonna look really janky right now because the ground under, so all of that is holding the sump pit down because it's so buoyant, because there's so much water. That's the NDS Easy Flow French drain pipe. So basically it's corrugated 4-inch with slots all the way around the pipe, the entire length. And then it's a geofabric sock basically with high density foam peanuts packed inside of it. So the geofilter stops the sediment from getting in. The peanuts allow the water to flow a little slower, so it's able to be picked up inside the pipe and moved down the system. So these come in 10-foot lengths. So I basically moved my sump pit to the middle of my property because I'm going to connect down on that other end. I'm going to connect more lengths of this on the other end and grade it down into the other side of the sump pit. So I'm going to pull water from both sides of the pit, and then I have a Zoller M98 pump inside that pit that will pump everything out of here. But I want to show you, because we haven't been traipsing around in it. I don't know, it might be hard to see, but this pit's probably about 2 feet deep. But the peanuts in the pipe make it float. It's not designed to be put in water. I mean, there's some funny videos of people throwing NDS Easy Flow pipe into the water for people to use as like a life preserver because that's how buoyant it is. It's really meant to be put into basically dry trenches and then covered with dirt, and then what water you do have will get picked up and pumped out. Problem is, I'm starting from the extreme opposite. I'm dealing with a massive flooding issue that's nearly impossible to get ahead of. So let me walk up here. I'm gonna walk down where. So let me just show you here. So I walked up a fairly high incline here, and there's water pooling up here. This is probably a 20 to 25 degree incline. This is a school. This is what the school grounds people did. They dug a trench to stop the water from basically leaking onto their nice new artificial field. And then over here on the other side, all this water's backing up because there's nowhere for it to go, because there's a small lake behind my house. The water can't flow down because there's too much water there, so it's backing up a hill. So that gives you an idea of how much water is being held in the ground down here. And when I dig, I see percolating water spots, where the water percolates up from the ground, which is indicative of a change in the water table. So let's go down here. All right, so I can show you, this is the trench that I dug, because this is actually in my neighbor's yard. But the funny thing is because I dug this, it's allowing some more water to drain down towards there. But we had to kind of go up and around the tree because the tree's roots are very superficial, and I wasn't cutting into a giant tree's roots. Don't worry about it landing in my neighbor's backyard. So this was clean, but this is all debris, there we go, from the storm. It just moved stuff with these giant branches in here. There we go. But so far my pump hasn't stopped since I reset the breaker. So a Zoller M98 will pump probably about anywhere between 80 and 90 gallons a minute, depending on distance and elevation. So I'm pumping at about 120 feet, but on flat ground. So I'm probably getting somewhere north of 75 gallons per minute. Now I showed you I could step in the water and show you, but I spent the last couple of days being covered from head to toe in disgusting mud. So I'm not going to dive in this trench again to show you, but you kind of can get the idea of my sump pit is 3 feet tall. Let me flip around so you can see, and it's completely submerged. So I don't know if you can kind of see. Be better over here. So I pre-drilled the hole for the other 4-inch connection into the sump pit for the other length of hose, and I just stuck a small piece of corrugated and a 90-degree elbow just to keep so debris wouldn't go in the hole. But there's so much water, it's acting like a surface drain. So the pump is going. There's so much water, the sump pit is completely full. It's just pumping water continuously. So hopefully I can get all of this pumped out. I don't know, as long as it doesn't rain, I should be okay. I get all this pumped out, and then the first step is to somehow get this trench emptied out so I can push the NDS down into the hole and then cover it. I may have to actually just get some like bags of gravel and just lay the bags on top of the pipe to submerge it, so it'll start picking up the extra water at the bottom and carry it down the length. The other problem is when I was digging this trench with the excavator, it was full of water. You know, every time I dug a bucket of soil out, the water immediately came up from underground, so I couldn't see how far I was digging. Like I can't see the bottom of the trench. I don't know, and because it's full of water, it's eroding the walls of the trench I dug. So what happens is after a short period of time, the trench fills back up. So even if I dig a 2-foot trench, it's probably only, or a 2-foot trench, it's probably only 1.5 feet when all is said and done, because the mud just slides back down on the bottom, because I can't get rid of all this water fast enough. Even when I pump this out, it comes up out of the ground and we're back to square one. So I actually I did a lot of research, and Apple Drains, which has got a YouTube channel, was really had a lot of great information. So they offer an actual, like a video consultation. So put the request in. Hopefully I get an answer from them soon, so I can show them what's going on. And because I don't know what else to do. Even all of their videos, everything they do is based on, you know, someone gets a flood and then it stops raining, the water kind of eventually goes away, and then they call someone to do it, but they're dealing with, you know, dry ground for the most part. This is a whole new level of disaster. I don't know if this is something they've ever encountered, but that's a funny side note. My wife wanted me to get a quote from a professional, and I was referred by actually a friend of mine who had this guy put some French drain in his yard, which I could have done for him for $200, but I didn't know he was doing it, so he paid like $1,500 to this guy to put a couple lengths of French drain in. But I called this guy, came out, I showed him everything that I got going on. There's access issues because I'm not letting somebody drive heavy machinery through my yard. I spent a lot of money on landscaping. I'm not going to destroy it. There is access, but it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. A lot of mud, which makes it difficult to work labor-wise. I know it drives costs up because you need so many guys. Because trying to lift shovels of mud, you just can't do it. As evidenced by the fact that I got a mini excavator stuck in the mud, and I had to go out and buy a 5,000-pound winch, lash it to a tree to pull it out, and then use a come-along on 3 different trees. We kept having to swap them between the trees to pull at the correct angle to get it far enough in a certain direction to attach it to a different tree, to start pulling it away. It's just the access is such a huge issue. This guy gave me a quote of $18,000 to basically tap into a pre-existing storm drain, which I mentioned in my other videos, that the town owns, that runs through this section I'm showing you. It's an easement, so 15 feet past my fence, basically. So there's my fence, so come 15 feet out, which is basically, you can see, little flag is over there with the orange on it. It's right there, that thing right there. That shows the boundary of my property. Not allowed to build anything permanent because there's a storm drain pipe, cement storm drain pipe that runs underneath it, which is actually, when I just showed you where my my PVC discharge is dumping into, that's the only access point for, I don't know, a quarter of a mile. So from the main street where the storm drain in the street is to where it actually dumps out in the pond down the street, that's the only access. So he was talking about making a cement catch basin and then tapping into the storm drain system, pipe underneath, you know, but then I would have to spend additional money to hire a survey company to find the pipe because nobody knows where it actually is. The town isn't even 100% sure. So that would be probably like another $1,000. So he says 18, the survey 1,000 maybe, you know, by all said and done, we're probably looking at like 20 grand to put French drains in. Now, that wasn't happening. My wife said she was willing to pay and spend like $2,000. I told her it was probably $2,000 just for the materials, maybe. Like the stuff I'm using is probably about, when all is said and done, I'm probably going to, $1,000 between the rental, the machine, and all the stuff I bought so far. 1,000 versus 20, but I got to do it myself. So I need some help. I'm fairly confident in my DIY skills. I can use heavy machinery. I'm accustomed to hard work, but this is a problem I am not actually sure anyone has come across. Maybe if they have, please comment on the video. Give me some suggestions, but I got multiple issues that are making this a very difficult project. The amount of mud, the amount of constant water every time it rains, it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Let me just flip this around so I can show you. So you see this, I'll just show you. This is kind of the path we created with plywood sheets to kind of get around. There's, a gigantic tree. This pile of dirt is what I actually pulled out of here. When you walk over there, that is like, as soon as you step in it, you sink 4 inches, 5 inches in the mud. That side you don't sink as deep, but it's wet. But this isn't level. It's hard to see from here, but there's probably about a 10 to 15 degree list this way. As you go up in the tree, it starts to list like this. All of this over here. Now this little chunk that I took out, there was a mound of dirt back here when I moved in, but I started using the excavator to grab it to actually put dirt here so we could put sheetrock, so I could try and leapfrog my way down to the other end, but I ran out of time. And not to mention, while we were doing this over the weekend, I'm fairly certain Saturday was probably the hottest day in the history of New Jersey. I think the heat index hit 118 degrees with something north of 90% humidity. It was ungodly hot. And I started working at 5:30 in the morning as soon as the sun came up to get ahead of it, and still worked until about 8 o'clock at night. So this was starting to dry out, and then, like I said, we had 2 days of torrential, massive thunderstorms, tornado touchdown. So we're at a point where I can't even get my excavator. There's no way I can dig that by hand. That's just not happening. I also have back here, my plan was to put a T in over there, kind of like probably where the bucket is. Put a T in and either run solid corrugated pipe to somewhere in this area, and then I have a what they call an atrium surface drain that I was going to plant and just allow the surface water to pool in to get the top water off. And then as I pull, when I eventually put the NDS in the ground, it'll pull the subsurface water. So even the subsurface water over here will come down this way, get picked up and brought over, but the majority of the surface water will get picked up by the atrium drain and carried away. But we're not even at the point where I can get close enough to dig, because I have to dig that I have to bring the excavator, rent the excavator again. This mud is so heavy, it's so thick, there's so much water and there's so much of it. We might have to rent like a large suction sump that can handle even picking up mud and move a lot of water extremely quickly to be able to dig. There's the logistics of this are becoming more and more difficult. A large machine wouldn't make it back here. It would just get stuck, and then you get into the issue of how do we get that piece of machinery out. So logistically, a lot of issues. Not giving up though. Not giving up. It's I think it's doable, but I'm kind of reaching out to the big guns now to offer some suggestions. As long, I mean, that pump is running and it's going to keep running. I'm not turning it off anytime soon. I'm just going to have to check it more often to make sure, you know, I have to keep an eye on. I mean, it's been pumping. So I think this video's at about 21 minutes. It's been going for probably 21, 22 minutes, and it hasn't shut off yet. So that's how much water is on the top here. But if I'm moving as much water as I think I am, I'll probably give it about an hour or two, and this, hopefully, majority of it may be gone. So I'll just have to keep checking on it over the course of the day. So again, if anybody's got any suggestions, or has seen a problem like this somewhere else, please comment. I'd love some suggestions, and hopefully I hear back from Chuck from Apple Drains soon, so I can pick his brain, because he seems to be the kung fu master of drainage. So hopefully I can get a hold of him, and he can give me some good ideas on how I can get ahead of this. All right, so I'll keep you guys updated, and talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Not that I'm gonna make money off of this, but you know, it's YouTube. I need friends. Talk to you later.